Welcome to Cities on the Move. I'm your host, Stephanie Passingham. Today we're learning more about the community leadership programs organized by Riverland Community College. Eric Shores tells us about his research regarding the glass ceiling in the workplace. And we visit the Ride Your Bike Shop in Austin, Minnesota to check out the dozens of bicycles in their historic collection. Stay tuned for Cities on the Move. Eric Shores studied the causes and effects of the glass ceiling in the workplace for his doctoral dissertation. Let's find out what he learned.
My name is Dr. Eric Shores. I have been a resident in Austin for 24 years and I am an educator. Well, an educator is an educator and a persuader. What I do in part is educate people to help them find that key to unlock the door in life that they're looking for, whether it's professionally motivated or personal in nature, and persuading the heart. The reason I started researching glass ceilings is because I had to complete a dissertation research project for my doctorate. I thought of my mom, first off. She was part of the first all-female sales insurance team for American Mutual Life in the state of Iowa back in the early 60s. That simply wasn't done. So her company was very forward-thinking, but she reached a point where there was a barrier that she could not get through for her ultimate aspirations, and so she chose to walk away rather than fight a battle that she could not win. And I've always thought about my mom, what might have been, how far could she have gone, because she is an incredibly talented, incredibly bright individual. What I found in my research were a few things. Where I think our first point in falling down in solving the glass ceiling problem is that we're looking at the wrong thing. What I found in my research is that gender is only one piece of what causes glass ceilings. There are other factors that reinforce glass ceilings, and then there are a number of things that deconstruct glass ceilings. Well, they might be differently shaped, they might be higher for some women than they are others, and it could be that the factors that are causing them in one industry are not entirely the factors that they are in another industry or in a particular company. Beyond gender, what causes glass ceilings are power positions. Simply those people in the decision-making areas that can promote or not promote individuals to those positions. And then in the reinforcing of glass ceilings, you look at organizational culture and societal roles. There are two primary forms that deconstruct glass ceilings. They are mentoring and feminism. And when I'm talking about feminism, I'm not talking about simply, again, pointing a finger at men and saying you're the problem. You know, one of the things that people will look at me funny and say, excuse me, is when I tell them I'm a feminist. Well, don't you have to be a woman to be a feminist? Not at all. You know, a feminist at its core is someone who wants to help women in whatever capacity, and they're trying to see the problem from a female perspective. The reason that I like to do what I do and what gets me out of bed in the morning and what puts a smile on my face is that I've always been an achiever. And I know the feeling that I get when I achieve and the excitement. Because for me, achievement is not about what I do to accomplish, it's who I can help along the way.
Well, today we are talking about community leadership programs, and there is one that has been developed by the Riverland Community College, and we have a couple of special guests here today to tell us about the program that actually takes place in several communities. We have Peggy Young and Lois Nelson. Thanks for being here, gals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Lois, give us a little bit of history and tell us how these community leadership programs came to be.
Well, the community leadership actually came and originated with our Executive Vice President, Dr. Ron Langrell. Tied to the fact that we're an AQUIP college, and that is our national accreditation. One of the pillars that we're measured is how do we support and work within the community in a leadership capacity. And here in Austin, it was 6 years ago or so, Todd Penske, the president and CEO of CRC, had been familiar with a program over in Wisconsin. He was the chair of the chamber board, and he, Ron, Sandy, at the Forstner, of course, our chamber exec, were kibitzing and talking about the possibilities and all. And so it was really using a model that Ron was familiar with, that Todd had experiences with, and Sandy royally supported. And so from there, we developed a 8-month program where community members, all walks of life, backgrounds, education, public and private sector, go through a selection process every spring. And from that, we've had anywhere from 18 to 23, I think was the largest group that has participated in Austin.
Great.
And from that model, we went and started a program in Albert Lea with Randy Kerr. And this past year in Owatonna, they've actually had a decade-old program, and we're looking at a little different model and developing something stronger for the future. And we had been visiting with them for a period of time, so we've been involved in their program now this year. Mm-hmm. And then now Peggy and I make the trek over on I-90 to Fairmont because we're working with their leadership in Martin County, developing a program that will start this fall.
All right, so quite an extensive history and continuing to develop.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
All right. Many of our communities in our region have participated in or will be participating in other leadership programs. Blandon Community Leadership Program is one that comes to mind that I know several of these communities have sent delegations to participate in. Give us a sense of why you felt that it was important to have another leadership program. How does your program address items differently, perhaps, than some of the others that are currently being offered?
Well, in Blandon, and I was part of the 98 grads that went through Owatonna, and there the focus is largely on personal development and styling, and you spend time with Myers-Briggs, and back then we also spent time with a psychiatrist and reviewing all of our model and plan. And then you work in community, developing issues and stakeholders, and go through an analysis process of issues, et cetera. At least that was the model used back when I went through the program. Community leadership, it's closer to home. We do incorporate strengths-based leadership that Marcus Buckingham and the Gallup organization have researched and spent time and dollars in the last 10 years. And we bring that entity into the community leaderships in all of our communities. And we also bring in the Leadership Challenge book, and that's built around 5 strengths or 5 pillars of leadership. So we incorporate that throughout the year, but the real focus is on the topics of the day. And we have a government day, we have an education day, criminal justice, quality of life. We really focus with community leaders that are passionate about that particular area. And they work with some of our grads in modeling and developing a program. Our usual comment is that this day goes too fast, there's too much in it, and it's really quite exhausting, which is probably one of Peggy and my goals for each group. Sure. But it's really focused on an issue or a topic, and we just keep building on that from one month to the next.
All right. Now, Peggy, you help coordinate this effort today, but you have been through this program.
I have.
Tell us, and you went through the Austin group, right?
I did.
What made you think this might be interesting? I might like to try this.
Well, I've been in Austin my entire life. Was born here, was raised here, went to school here, graduated from college here, and was at a point in my life where I really wanted to give something back to the community. I've always been involved to a certain point, but needed to know more. And the program offered me the opportunity to see things that I had never seen before, to go places that I hadn't gone before, even having lived here my entire life. The networking opportunities were fantastic. You've got day and year leaders that you work with for the whole year, but you've also got 100+ presenters that you get to meet throughout the entire program as well. So that kind of builds your pool of resources. Plus you've got the 20 or so participants that are in the program with you, that you really maintain friendships with and network with even beyond graduation from the program.
What was the selection process like? Did you have to be interviewed or simply fill out an application?
It was the application, and there were 2 or 3 essay questions that you had to answer. And then now seeing it from the other side of the fence, we review those applications, and not everyone gets in. Not everyone will qualify for the program. We try to include as many people as possible, obviously.
And what does it take to get into the program? What kind of attributes or people in certain positions in town, or what are you looking for when you put together a class?
Well, we look for a variety of things. You know, we want sort of a male-female ratio there. We look for folks from different backgrounds. We've had people from, like she said, education and the legal professions, from manufacturing, from everything across the gamut. We also look for people who are really committed to the community, who want to learn more about it so that they can in turn give back.
Yes, and age group certainly comes into play as well. I mean, we like to have what are known as senior citizens, and I always wince a little because I'm almost there myself. But you know, in fact, the first years of the program here in Austin, we actually had Riverland students participating as well, because this is a credit-based supervisory management program. So those 3 credits can be transcribed into a degree program here right at Riverland as well.
So there are some kind of holes that you try to fit. So if someone applied one year and didn't get accepted, you certainly would encourage them to apply again.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay. And about how many in each group each year do you accept?
Well, 18 to, and we've gone as high as 23, and I'm partial to a group of 18 because they fit into a, we can divide them up into 2 vans or a small bus, and we can do well. And there's a logistical element too, because then you can divide up into 2 groups or maybe 3, depending on the sites that we visit.
The conversations can be a little more personal at that level too, and these groups really do start to meld, and they become very close by the time graduation rolls around. You learn things about the participants that you wouldn't, you know, meeting them on the street or meeting them even in a business setting, that you wouldn't learn about them, and they become family, and a lot of them stay in touch after the program is done. I know our group, we all, you know, email each other all the time and what's going on, and it's a nice connection to be able to maintain.
And what kind of time commitment is it? If someone is interested in this program, but they hear 8 months, oh my gosh, I can't do 8 months. What did you experience, Peggy? How much time did it take away from your other regular duties?
Yeah, there is a time commitment there. It's 1 full day every month for the 8 months of the program, and then there's a little tiny bit of homework that is not all that time consuming at all. A person really can spend as much time committed to the program as they have available, because there are lots of opportunities outside of that 1 day a month framework for them to become involved in things that they learn about along the way as well. But we only require the 1 day a month from the participants.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm just going to acknowledge that the community recognizes community leadership as an excellent source of talent. And so we often get requests from other boards of positions that are open, or from the city of Austin for the numerous commissions and boards that they also want a good cross-section of the community. And as those messages come through, we just share it with the whole group as well. And many past grads and current students have taken advantage of taking their talents to those particular entities, and that's the culture that we certainly encourage.
Encouraging that leadership
right,
role.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Great. Peggy, give us some specific examples, if you would, please, of some of the things that you did over those 8 months, and which was your favorite or the most kind of eye-opening? Wow, I didn't know this about this community I've lived in my whole life.
Well, I would say the most eye-opening, and Lois will back me up on this, was probably the tour of Quality Pork, which not everyone gets to experience, which I was hesitant to experience, and am glad that I did it, but not anxious to do it again. You come out of there with a huge respect for the people that work there and the work that they do. There's no question about that. I would say that the other big aha moment for me was during the public safety and the law day. Not only did we get to spend time with the judge in the chambers and see some of the court in action, but the police chief at the time really made hit a home run with his message about leading with the head and the heart, and about what it takes to be a strong leader within yourself, and then that kind of just is emulated in everything that you do. And I think that hit home with me. And during that day, we always have somebody that gets tasered voluntarily. And they bring the dogs out and they let you wear the sleeve, you know, so that the dogs can attack you a little bit. So that's an eye-opening day as well. But really there was something that I took out of every single one of the sessions that I either wasn't aware of or that I hadn't thought of, or that just hasn't been presented in a way that made you think, oh, well, I can be part of that, I can do that, I can make a difference here. And of course the education day is always important. I have a son in the public schools, and so to see kind of behind the scenes what happens there and what their plans are for the future, that made a big impact as well.
Lois, why does a community leadership program like this benefit the community kind of in the long run? What's the plus to having a program like this in each of the communities that Riverland works with?
Well, and again, it's solidifying, of course, on behalf of Riverland as a corporate citizen within each of our communities. That certainly, it strengthens that role. But for the participants, and it is actually replacing current leaders as time goes along.
Succession planning at its best.
Yes, at its very best. And it's also a knowledge pool, if you will, because we do spend time talking about issues, current issues, and looking at multiple sides of that particular issue with the intent that this group will be able to has been exposed to all of that and will be able to make good decisions as it relates to whether it's a vote that's coming up or you know, just anything and all. So you're working with a truly informed populace, and that's becomes the real heart of a community, certainly. So, because anybody can say, well, when I went through leadership, you know, we talked about that, and this is, you know, what I understood from it. So that really strengthens the knowledge of a good, strong citizen base.
Yeah, and you mentioned that kind of interconnectedness. That networking is kind of an overused term,
right?
But that knowing what your resources are in the community,
and it really is invaluable. I can't tell you how many times I've gone back to my little portfolio and said, oh, this is the person that I need to contact. You know, here's the information, and it's all right there at your fingertips. By the end of the year, you know exactly where you need to go.
Great. How long ago did you go through the program, Becky?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Okay, so you're still using that information.
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Yep, without a doubt.
Any plans for adding other communities in the future? Or what's the next step for the leadership program?
Well, and certainly as the word is getting around, Riverland is recognized as having a model for community leadership. It was a couple of months ago we were up in Alexandria meeting with the folks at the tech up there, and this wasn't really the topic of the day, but it did come up because again we have it under our supervisory management program, and they have a strong program counterpart as well. And then, so we talked about, you know, why the college would take a leadership role in partnering with the chamber to bring this to a community and all.
Great.
So it is being multiplied around the state and small communities. We're looking for a model that you know, we could bring numerous smaller communities together because again, the issues are many times similar.
Very similar.
And you need a good leadership strengths and skill sets to address those same issues, and you're dealing with a public. So,
all of those
you know,
things are in common.
Again, thanks to the commitment of our college leadership, you know, we're looking at expanding certainly.
For someone that is interested, they say, this sounds like something I'd really like to participate in, where can they go to get additional information?
Well, I would really recommend just going right out to the Riverland website, www.riverland.edu, and then you look under the Foundation Community button, and there's Community Leadership, and all 4 of our programs are there, and the applications are included in the Austin and Albert Lee areas. We've got our past yearbooks, so you can look at the grads and their comments and what
More
the
information
agendas.
than you possibly need.
Absolutely,
All right.
absolutely,
Great.
yes.
Well, for those of you who think this might be something for you, that you'd like to get to know your community a little bit better, even though you may have lived there your entire life, check it out, riverland.edu. Thanks, gals, so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, stay tuned for more Cities on the Move. Bicycles from many eras line the walls and ceiling of Ride Your Bike Shop. Let's take a look.
With the growth of trails across the region, bicycling has enjoyed a resurgence of popularity for enthusiasts of all abilities. For anyone interested in the bicycle itself, it would be worth your while to visit Ride Your Bike Shop in Austin, Minnesota. Ride Your is home to one of the most impressive bike collections in the country. Store manager Chad Burma explains how the collection got started.
You know, the person who assembled our collection, Dan Allwing, he was very interested in history, culture, And during some of our slower times of the year, you can spend some time researching those topics, and that's what got him interested in assembling a collection, is just the history and the stories associated with the older bikes, and just kind of snowballed from there. The first bike in our collection is a 1922 John Pritzloff. It was found in a farm field just outside of Mankato, Minnesota, and was restored, and that began our collection. A lot of them came through online groups that are interested in collecting bikes. In a certain sense, once people find out that you're interested in collecting antique bikes, they seek you out. Dan had specific eras of bicycle that he wanted to have a part of the collection. One of his ideas was have a bike from every decade since the invention of the bicycle. So that was sort of one guideline that he had. Then it became finding bikes with distinct features, distinct types of shifting systems, bikes that were popular with Americans in the 50s, bikes that were raced in Europe. You know, so once he kind of started filling in these holes, he found other ideas that he wanted to get.
And the diversity is quite impressive. You can pretty much track the history of the bicycle by gazing at the walls and ceiling of the shop.
The oldest bike is an 1868 Bone Shaker. Doesn't have a chain, doesn't have any gearing, but it's one of the earliest designs of a bicycle. It's probably made by a blacksmith. It's wooden wheels with a steel band around it. It's pretty primitive. You know, the first designs of the bike didn't have chains or gears. So what they did was, like the bike over my left shoulder, the Columbia Ordinary, they increased the size of the front wheel to effectively get a bigger gear. That was the idea behind the high wheeler, or the penny farthing, as some people call them. It was the bigger wheel gave you a bigger gear. Once they figured out that you could have a chain and different gear ratios, then they quickly got to two wheel sizes that are the same size.
The collection not only spans time, but uses of the bicycle as well.
So the 1941 Swiss Army Courier bike was designed to be used by the Swiss Army. That bike is a courier bike, so it was outfitted with bags, a frame bag, handlebar bags to carry documents. It's a neat bike. It was built to last. It weighs in at 60 pounds, so it's the heaviest bike in our collection, but it rides lighter than it weighs. The oldest bike that we have that most resembles a modern racing bike is a 1938 Velodrome Velo Custom bike. It was designed to be ridden on indoor tracks with bank corners that they call velodromes.
And some of the bicycles are just plain quirky.
The Ingo bike is a self-propelled scooter. It's self-propelled in the sense that you don't have to continually push your foot. It has a hub that's offset in the wheel, so the wheel's continually going up and down. The frame design is like a leaf spring, so you're continually going up and down and using your weight to continue that momentum. There's some that are really unique, but you'd almost have to be kind of a bike geek to know the difference, like this one on the corner, which looks kind of boring and unassuming, but it has one of the earliest derailleur systems. It's a 3-speed derailleur. You actually have to unhook your rear wheel, shift, and then reconnect your back wheel, all while pedaling your bike. It's kind of a complicated system.
So for a spin down bicycle memory lane and a chance to see a 1969 Schwinn lemon peeler, check out Ride Your Bike Shop in Austin, Minnesota.
Here's what's happening in the Austin area this month. Summer is a great time to gaze at the stars. The Sola Fide Observatory is open most Saturday nights. For times and directions, call 507-433-1905. To celebrate more sky news, join the Hormel Nature Center for their event Summer Solstice Eco Blitz on June 12th. This is a fun family day of nature-related outdoor activities to celebrate the summer. For more information, contact the Hummel Nature Center at 507-437-7519. The Hambone Blues Jam 9th Annual Music Festival will be held at the Holiday Park Golf Course between Austin and Albert Lea on June 25th and 26th. 10 or more bands will perform. Check out the 2010 lineup at hambonebluesjam.com. For music lovers of all ages, this event goes from 6 p.m. until midnight on Friday, followed by Saturday, hours of noon until midnight. If you have an event to share, please log on to ksmq.org and post your information today. Next week on Cities on the Move, we will check out Wells, Minnesota. We meet a wood duck enthusiast who builds a variety of birdhouse styles. And we'll learn about the restoration of the Wells Depot and why trains have been instrumental to Wells history. Please join us Tuesday, June 7th at 6:30 p.m. for another edition of Cities on the Move. I'm your host, Stephanie Passingham. Good night.
Production of this program is made possible in part through a grant from the Blandon Foundation.